Alright, the objective is to determine the importance of polynomials, how how polynomials satisfy the precise definition of mathematics. These are two essential things that we gotta get into. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about it because unfortunately in your math education you haven't been taught about why is this important. We keep saying, children, you're gonna use this in everyday life, but we are not specific. And we don't tell you why you are using it, which part of this method are you going to use. The stuff about polynomials, believe it or not, you've been using polynomials in your day-to-day life since you was introduced to them mainly in middle school. Although they didn't say the word polynomial, but y'all been dealing with polynomials. Everyone deals with them. So we're gonna go into the lesson discussing that. Alright? But first, shout out to my 6B, my 7B. Good job, 6B and 7B. You guys killed this week. You guys was all on your stuff. I was like so impressed. And I'm giving y'all the biggest shout out possible. Good job, 6B, 7B of Extreme My High. Y'all done did the thing. Y'all done made me proud. As a math teacher, y'all done told it up. Good job, y'all. That's how you do it. That is how you do mathematics. Like you guys was, y'all came prepared. Y'all walked in my class. Y'all was like, "All right, we got you," because I was thinking that you guys wasn't gonna be ready, but you guys are ready. Remember, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And we're gonna turn it out. We're gonna keep at it. I'm so proud of y'all. Good job. All right, announcements and reminders. So, you guys are doing a good job with your phones. Make sure your phones are out of sight. As long as I don't see it, I don't have an issue. If I'm walking around, if I see you have your phone, just put it up or I'll deduct grade, so I'll give you consequence. Yeah, I know I like y'all a lot, so I'd rather not, have to write you up. I don't want to go through all that. But you guys are doing a good job. All right, practice ACT is going to be Monday and Tuesday. You may be taking the practice ACT. Y'all keep up with your Chromebooks, please. Y'all be on top of that stuff. Remember, pop quiz can happen at any moment at a time notice. It could be in the form of a Kahoot. It could be a form of anything. I just gotta, you gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Today, in class, the Kahoots that you guys did, Kahoots rather, I'm grading that on skill. We're gonna consider that to be your pop quiz. Because you've seen this before, and I was looking to see who was going to pay attention to it. So, there we are. We're going to keep working for our grades. So, every time y'all do something, I'm always going to make sure I put the grades in real time. I'm always going to say, hey, check your grades. And we're going to constantly keep doing that. That way, you can know where you stand all day, every day, and it makes you want to learn so you take ownership. Because I noticed today, every time we did a test that when I put in the grade book, y'all running to the grade, you guys were so eager to do the work because you see the rewards that could brief of it. All right. I'm a little furious about academic dishonesty. Y'all, I'm not happy about the dishonesty that y'all committed. Because you guys are too smart to commit such hideousness. But you guys gonna pull through. I know y'all will. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the precise definition of mathematics and talk about what is math. Mr. Howard, what is mathematics? Well, it's a precise definition of mathematics. Because you guys could go to Google and Google what's mathematics. It's going to give you a bunch of nonsense. It's not going to give you the truth of it all. And so, you guys are given the truth right here. It's right there for you. This is critical. I may be quizzing you a lot off the definition alone. I need for you guys to get a true understanding of it because the precise definition of mathematics is the technique to explain, understand, and manage reality by ciphering, counting, measuring, classifying, ordering, inferring, and modeling patterns arising in the environment. That's what math is. In our day-to-day lives, we satisfy the precise definition of mathematics because we do most of these things. We count, everybody count. I mean, you doing math simply off count. You do measure, you do classify things, you do order things, you do infer, and on some occasions you do model patterns arising in the environment. Now, the modeling patterns arising in the environment, you don't do that too often. On rare occasions you do, when you actually sit down and have to, think things out. But the rarest thing that you will ever do in this life is to cipher. The cipher means to decode. That's something that, you know, most of us don't use. But in this Algebra 2 class, you are definitely are using the technique to explain and understand, and you are going to manage your reality by counting, measuring, classifying, ordering, inferring, and modeling patterns. You're going to do those things. Ciphering, hmm, I got a few activities where you're going to cipher, which we did already with the little activity I gave you guys to find the number. If you guys, review, remember. Many of you guys who did that activity always end up with the number 7. Now the question remains that we haven't explored yet. Doesn't matter any number. So we're going to explore that some more. But yeah, this definition is super important. It doesn't matter what career you get into, you are going to use this definition. We satisfy this definition every single day. Every day. Are we going to use all parts of the definition like I stated? No. Alright? And I encourage you guys to have some knowledge of this. Alright? There are two types of mathematics. In every math class you had, there was two types. Abstract, which was the math that made you think a lot, and the applied to get you to do the stuff. Going back when you was kids, if you have any siblings, when y'all fought each other over food or whatnot, your parents always told you to share. Sharing is applied mathematics right there because you are using division. That is applied math. Now, the abstract stuff is the stuff dealing with letters, proofs, definitions, and facts. Like when you add two odd numbers together, you always get an even number. That's just an abstract thought right there. And we're going to explore this a lot. There's always abstract and applied mathematics. Abstract and applied. Abstract and applied. The stuff that I did with you in Algebra 2 so far, almost all of it so far has been abstract. However, in this lesson, you are going to do apply lesson. So this is what I want you guys to do. And this is going to help you with your project that I have talked to B there about, but I will talk more to A there about. You have a 2-page writing assignment to do, but I need for you guys to see all those words in red. I need for you to look them up in a dictionary online. Look them up and find the correct meaning that fits the whole mathematical sense. All right? I'm going to ask you a question that's off balance now. What is a number? What is a number? Take your time and think about that. Pause this video and give yourself some seconds. All right? A number is a symbol that represent quantity. It's a symbol that represent quantity. All you guys by now know that my favorite number is 0. 0 is my favorite number. All right. However, if we go to any country around the world, they have a different symbol to represent 0. This is a Chinese symbol that represents 0. This is a Braille symbol to represent 0. This is I want to say North African symbol to represent 0, if not East. So you ever, travel and you draw a little diamond shape and you shade it in, that's the number 0. A circle, I think this is mm, North African. If not North African, it's Central or South. A circle represent 0. That little symbol you see, that's the native Latin American symbol for 0. That little dot, that is some old, yeah, that's old African, so it's still old North African symbol for 0. And this is our symbol for 0. Now, Mr. Why do you like such a number? Here's why. Well, before, long, long, long ago, all these digits was created by a particular group of people to distinguish symbols for specific amounts. However, there was one problem with that. They needed something, a completely new number, to make numbers bigger and easier to read. To what they did, they created the number 0. 0 completely means nothing, which you needed a symbol to represent nothing. Before 0 was created, you had no symbol to represent nothing. And so I like 0 because A, it's the youngest of our 10 digits here, and it does a lot of powerful things. So if I was to say 0 itself represents nothing, right? But if I have 1, one's a small number, right? But if I was to give you an assignment and put 1 and 0 together, that makes 10. So that's 10 points on assignment. Well, what if you took my quiz if I was to give you zeros, 2 zeros behind the number? Well, that's a perfect A. For those who had me their freshman year, you had a assignment that was worth this amount of points. High, big. So 0 play a point role, which makes numbers bigger, or if I wanted to, make them smaller. So if I wanted something smaller than 1, so here's 1. If I want to make that smaller than 1, if I put 0 in front of it, it makes it small. If I do that, it also makes it small. This, and of course if I put a decimal point, but that's how it started. Without 0, the decimal point would not be in need. It would be worthless. So the 0 made numbers bigger and smaller. And you're going to have some crazy mathematicians, if you go to college, be like, that's not the case. Just tell them, what would happen if 0 didn't come about? If I was to put 1, well, if you put a decimal point, if and put 1 behind, okay, that makes it small, but how do I make that smaller than 0.1? If you put 0.01, that's small. That's smaller than 0.1. Going back to your knowledge of using the decimal point system. The name of our number system is called Hindu-Arabic. 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 These numbers, these symbols to represent a specific amount, comes from India. So ain't no black person made this number system, ain't no white person made this, ain't no Chinese, ain't no Brazilians. People from Asia, India, Asia. Those are the people who created the number system we use today. All right, polynomials and you. So all that stuff I just spoke to you about, you may want to keep that inside because again, I can throw a pop quiz on you, ask you some questions on that. So be ready, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. All right, polynomials and you. What's the whole point of all that I taught, Mr. Howard? I'm not gonna ever use polynomials in my lifetime. But Becky Sue, you've been dealing with polynomials all your life. You just forgotten about it or didn't realize it. So, in my cahoots, I asked you a question. Is 5 a polynomial? Yes, it is. Because 5 could be rewritten as 5 with a variable of x to the power of 0, which anything to the power of 0 becomes 1. So 5 times 1, which is just 5. Every number that you know of, every integer, rational number, real number, complex number, well, not complex, but real numbers, rational and integers are all polynomials. All are polynomials. Please review your notes about polynomials, going back to the early part of the year, about all of that. Alright, so we established that every number is a polynomial, even negative integers too. Negative 5 is also a polynomial. Negative 100, etc., etc., etc. Alright, so you go to Google, do this for me. Go to Google and search polynomials in real life and see what you come up with. Go search polynomials in real life. And don't forget to pause this video. Pause the video. Alright, so you go to Google, you see it says about Ferris wheel, engineer, Mr. Howard. They got nothing to do with me. Well, let Miss Howard explain it to you so you can understand. Polynomials are in everyday life because, like I have told you before, every number is a polynomial. When we're dealing with money, we are dealing with numbers. Food uses numbers. Work uses numbers. And time uses numbers. So all this is associated with numbers. Your job, money, all that. So we're going to get into this. But before we go, I want to just point out one or two things. So if I say $5, right? 5, again, it's a polynomial. If I say 20 seconds, 20 is a polynomial. If I say 1/4 inch of salt, tablespoons of salt, guess what? A polynomial. If I've been walking for 2 blocks, that's a polynomial too. All these numbers. So, Algebra 2 is more for you trying to get into a career. In reality, everyone use a basic level polynomial. Your most basic level of polynomials are linear functions. Linear functions like 5x is a linear function. And we're going to see how that represents everything. 3x minus 10. That's a basic polynomial. Also, your other very basic polynomials that you've been dealing with since birth, it is called a constant. And I'm sorry, yeah, I'm writing with a mouse. I don't got my stylus with me. Constants. So remember when we say 5 is a polynomial? And we already explained why. So these numbers are called constants. 5, 6, 7, any integer, positive, negative, any rational, any real, those are constants. Constants. All are constant. Okay? But when you see these numbers in front of variables like 5x, this is called a coefficient. And this x X always by itself has an exponent of 1. Alright, so I gave you all that facts of all this, all that. So now let's dive into it. So here's a very basic money example. I go to Rouse's and I go get me a filet mignon, and it's $34, well $35 per pound. And then I want me some shrimp, which is $8, which is $9 per pound. I have to create a equation. An equation. If I create the equation to represent my cost of these items, it will be 34.99 B. B represents the pound of beef because it's $35 per pound, and that's per pound of beef. So B represent the pounds of beef. I don't know how many pounds I want. It could be 5. So it could be $35 times 5. The shrimp is 899S. The S represent the pounds of shrimp. And I could have 5 pounds of shrimp, 10 pounds of shrimp. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a linear polynomial. You have now been called out to see a polynomial. Again, this is in everyday life. And this is the very most basic form. The very, 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 very basic form of a polynomial. And that's still linear. Alright? And this is just another example. I'm not going into this. $11.99 per pound. That's could be rewritten as a expression as 11.99 C. And the C represents the numbers of Cokes I want. I should use P, pack of Cokes I want. So again, this 11.99 is a expression and is also a linear polynomial. Linears, just for a reminder, every time you see the word linear, you're dealing with a function or equation or expression that always have an exponent of 1. This P has an exponent of 1. So therefore it is linear. Alright, so here's some other basic examples dealing with money. And again, this is a linear linear polynomial. So if you're going to work, say you're working at CVS and you're trying to figure out your money. And at CVS, you get paid $13 an hour, right? And your deductions, let's just say on one paycheck it was $78. And you worked it 22 hours. How much is my paycheck? How much is my paycheck? To do that, you're going to do 13 times 22 minus 78. And that's $208 I got for a paycheck. Alright? But to represent this as a equation, I will use 208 equals 13 hours, 13 times the hours minus the $78. And that is how I calculate my paycheck. Right? Now, this next one, still dealing with linear, talks about profit. You know, some of you guys are salespeople, which is, again, your profit equals your customers times your profit minus your expenses, which is the same as this. Everybody, everyone who is a business person, legal or illegal, uses this model. Your drug dealers, your car salesman, even the kid down the street who's selling candy uses this basic linear polynomials. Most of us who try not to go into a career or nothing like that uses a linear basic polynomial. Now, let's talk about polynomials and Howard. Now, in this few slides, you're going to see about things that I like and I prefer to do. This is a picture of a swimming pool. Mr. Howard love creating swimming pools. I love to be in one. I like to help people, build a swimming pool. I like, all of that. One of I wish at my house, I could create a swimming pool, but because I live in a flood zone, that's not beneficial. So that's why I can't. However, this is a story about something that I created some time ago with a friend to help them have a swimming pool. So here you are. The length of a rectangle swimming pool is 2 yards more than 2 times the width. The area of the swimming pool is 144 square yards. Find the dimensions of the pool. Now, to get this pool created, I had to know the dimensions. I knew that the area was going to be 144 square yards, but I didn't know the rest. However, us going back to Miss Myers' class, we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. From there, we start plugging stuff in. So the length, it tells us in the word problem, is 2 yards more than 2 times the width. And we know nothing about the width. So therefore, we have this equation. On the right hand side, when you multiply all that together, you're going to get something that looks like this. Now, because we did the first 9 weeks, knowing how to factor, excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all. we know we have to make ourselves a perfect trinomial. To do that, we have to take that 144 and subtract it from both sides. So therefore, we have something that looks like this. Now, we have a trinomial. However, we know when we see trinomials that look like that, we gotta find a greatest common factor, which we know in this case is gonna be 2. Now, with that being said, we know how to factor this. And this is what we get when we factor, because negative 8 times positive 9 equals negative 72. But when you add negative 8 plus 9, you get positive 1. Now, those factors we have learned through ANET. Factors always equal 0. Factors always equal 0. Factors always equals to 0. So with that being said, we just set them both to 0. So we get W equals negative 9 and 8, W being width. So can I have negative width? No, you cannot. So that means that the width is going to be 8 yards long. Now, next thing I gotta do is go back to the length, which is 2 more than twice the width. And I gotta multiply the 8 for the width. So when I multiply everything by 8, I get the length to be 18. So my width and my length is 18 yards long. Just like in any real life situation, you always have to give a statement. You cannot just give me a number while give me the correct units. This is archery. One of the things that Mr. Howard loves to do is to go hunting for deer. I love deer meat. It tastes good. It's thick, filling, and it's good for a good fall time dish. Alright, so yes, this is a word problem to talk about an experience that I personally have dealt with. I have dealt with. Now, this situation is going to be similar to the pool situation. So, in those cases, those were quadratic polynomials. And remember, well, not remember, because I never taught you this. Quadratic simply just means x squared. Quadratic means x squared. Now, with that being said, now we get to the problem. I, Theo-Toussaint, shoots an arrow from the top of a 23-foot platform at a trophy buck. A buck in hunting language means deer. According to my equation, h equals negative 16 squared plus 16t plus 23, where h is the height in feet and t is the time in seconds. Sadly, my arrow didn't hit the deer, but it hit the tree. I arrive to find that the arrow hit the tree at the height of 3 feet off the ground. How long it took for me, how long did it take the arrow to hit the tree? Now, when you are hunting or whatnot, which you guys not gonna never do, but if you choose to do so, I have to know a thing or two about using my knowledge of quadratics because quadratics deals with physics. So anytime I'm throwing a projectile, I'll be an arrow or a bullet from a gun or a ball, you know, basketball, snowball, anything like that. I use a quadratic polynomial. All right. So you're going to have to find this equation yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I need for you to plug in and figure this out. Once you figure this out, which you know, I'm gonna give you the answer, but you gotta figure the rest out. It's going to take 5 seconds for the arrow to hit the tree. I need for you to figure out how it's 5 seconds. What is this? Money. Yes. As I have told you guys in the very beginning of school, I dealt with finance. I dealt with the finance before I became a teacher. So, I'm not going to do this problem because it's linear and you don't really need to pay attention to this because this is very basic middle school math. Alright? The state tax is directionally proportional to the gross income. You work in a state that you work for that state and your state income deduction is $46.45 for a monthly income of $1,500. Make a model for the Arkansas state income tax in terms of gross income. So gross income, just looked up. I don't think it just means just money that you are going to get. So if you want to, I guess I could do this. Well, no. So use your other linear stuff that we did earlier in the video. So go look at that. Money again. So one of the other things that I did, as a financer, I had to do with minimum cost, maximum cost. So anytime you deal with money on a professional level, you are dealing with it in terms of trying to find the maximum of things. So here, you have a daily production cost of 70,000 minus 120x plus 75,000 x squared, where C is the total cost in dollars and X is the number of units produced. How many units should be produced each day to yield a minimum cost? So when we go into polynomials, and you can do this two ways. I'm gonna show you both. We mainly look at graphs. So we know that this is a maximum, and we know this is a minimum. So one way of doing this is using the formula x equals opposite of b over 2a. It does uses the quadratic formula. Remember, x equals the opposite of b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So yeah. So here, just gotta know what B is. Now, Mr. Howard, this is written weird. Why is this not in front? Why is this not in the back? Well, Billy, you could switch those two. So, in some parts of the world, well, people write their equations like this. So, in America, we go for the biggest, which would be the x squared. But in other parts of the world, they go for the smallest. Let me explain that right quick. This is what I'm talking about. So in America, you get x3, x2, x, and then some constant c. C is just any number that you want it to be. It could be 5, negative pi, whatever you want it to be. But that's the American way of writing it. But in other parts of the world, they go c plus x squared plus x cubed. So that was why I wrote like that, because I was dealing with my um, English teacher, English being a man from Britain, as he was teaching me statistics. I was trying to do this. So while I done it, I thought in the English stuff. Anyway, so let's do this. So B, just put in. So B is 120. A is 0.75 thousandths. So that's the way that you've been taught America. So, we're going to use it like this. Alright? And then when you put that in the calculator and simplify it, you get 800. So, that should be, the minimum cost should be 800. So that means that I must have 800 units produced each day to yield a maximum cost. So, make sure when you are answering these things, you are stating that actually you are restating the questions. And then put your answer here. This what I did right here is gonna cut it. No, that's not gonna cut it. The answer is correct, but however, I need that full detailed sense. And to do that, you gotta reinstate the question. Also, you could throw that bad boy in decimals. But be aware, when you're dealing with big numbers and decimals, you do have to do a lot of zooming out. So keep that in mind. And when you see that, you get 800. Still. Alright, y'all. Homework. Get those two Kahoots that I post for you. B-Day, you already know about your project, so go ahead and work on it some more, which I already included as part of the homework assignment. And you probably will have a short quiz. You be prepared for the pop quiz. I'm gonna say that for sure. You never know what I'm gonna give it. But if it's a short quiz, like Wednesday or Thursday, of course, I'm telling you, Wednesday or Thursday, I'm gonna give you a small quiz. All right.